And on PM Express tonight, a key question that the Afrobarometer verdict has thrown up: who is winning the 2020 general elections? Is one of those controversial survey results that has left both the NDC and MPP scratching their heads a bit. It shows that more than 4 in 10 Ghanaians aren't taking sides yet in the presidential race. That in itself tells you a story that between now and next year, December 7, well, more than a year from now, by the way, just a few days more, we will know which of these parties will be in a position to get these individuals who find themselves here. The 4 in 10 Ghanaians who aren't taking sides yet. Can you get them to change their minds and take a side, either MPP or NDC? That's the work for both parties. Now, when asked in September and October who they would vote for if a presidential election were held tomorrow Now, more Ghanaians said they would not vote at all, or don't know, or wouldn't say how they would vote. I'm going to sort of break this down for you graphically shortly, what this says. But those 3 categories are so important. Those who will not answer the question, those who will not vote at all or aren't sure, those who haven't made up their minds. Those are huge categories that the Afrobarometer survey talks about. Now, the proportion of adult citizens, though, who said they would not vote is the highest, we understand, since 2008. That is apathy right there. Those who say don't vote. Apathy, very high since 2008. It's at historical levels. As far as the Afrobarometer survey result is concerned. That has implications for, if you look at our political history, for the incumbent political party. Each time apathy goes up in an election, it appears that it affects the incumbent party more than the opposition party. We'll look into that when we get to the details of this, and has also increased by 6 percentage points just from 2017, right? And that is significant as well. What is playing out there. Now, among respondents who declared a preference, those who would either vote for the MPP or the NDC, this is what is happening. The MPP maintained a lead over the NDC, though its lead had been cut significantly, which is 15 points, compared to the last time the Afrobarometer did the same survey in 2017. 15 points reduction in the number of people who said they'll vote for the MPP just 2017 to now. That is significant as well. Now, the findings suggest that, a large, and this is a key thing, a large chunk of the electorate still waiting to be convinced. There's a lot of convincing still to be done. And the question really is, which of these 2 parties, other than incumbent or the main opposition party, can benefit from this ahead of 2020? I want to break this down for you graphically. If you could see what this graph shows us here, and this is the question of whom would you vote for, and you see NDC is 22%, MPP is 34%. So as I just indicated to you, this is graphical representation of what I just indicated to you, that the NPP still maintains a lead. None of the parties is still securing 50% plus 1 to win an outright vote. But I guess the key areas to look is what we are seeing happening in this part of this graph. Will not vote, 11%. That is significant. And Afrobarometer already tells us that this is at significant historic levels. Never before since 2008, Afrobarometer says, have we seen this level of apathy? Will not vote. That is alarming. And then refuse to answer. You can, make too much of this particular segment, but don't know is key, which means this area, 12%, is free for all. Anybody between the next 1 year, any of these 2 parties, within the next 1 year, which can, craft messages to convince these guys, the 12% can shift them to its side. Which party is better placed to do that? NDC or MPP, incumbent or opposition? Well, the verdict is still out on that. We'll try and look at that. But let's also break it down further in terms of non-voters and undeclared voters. Again, the graph tells you, since 2008, The highest we've seen so far is what the Afrobarometer survey result for 2019 is telling us on the extreme right on your screen there. Let's move along. Now, this particular graph is a very interesting graph. If you see the line here, this deep red line is that of the New Patriotic Party, and the one beneath is that of the NDC. I want to draw your attention to a few things. Look at 2017. That is when the NPP came to power. The Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo was sworn into office 2017. When that same question was asked, who would you vote for in 2017 when he just came to power, the NPP had 49%, NDC 22%. Now, look at what happened since then. Since then, the support, the number of people who said they'll vote for the NPP have consistently dwindled year on year, 3 years running to 2019, consistently dipping. That is a 15 percentage points they've lost. But something interesting is happening to the NPP's own, I guess, line, the graph line. And you see, they have maintained, they have stability. Their votes haven't increased. Their votes haven't dropped. It's still the same. For the NDC, it's still the same. Now, something interesting is also happening here. 15% percentage drop. Those 15%, individuals who say, don't vote for the Nado anymore since 2017. It's not like I say they are voting, they are shifting to vote for the NDC. NDC is not benefiting from that. They are staying constant. So the argument goes, if the NPP can galvanize its base a bit more using the 1 year left to get them back, they can cause another victory. It can cause another victory for them. So this is a very interesting graph to look at. This tells you who is winning which region. And if you do the calculation, NPP is winning 9 regions out of the 16. So the remainder is going to go to the NDC. And the NDC is winning in the traditional areas, particularly in the newly created regions. Northeast, for example, Ahafo, for example, they're winning there. Savannah, NDC is winning in Savannah. Bono East, NDC is winning there as well. The NPP wins in Ashanti Central. And again, but these are important regions. We know nobody wins the presidency without winning the central region. So these are very, very important places to win for the NDC. Central region. Let's see Greater Accra. Greater Accra region, again, NPP wins it. These two regions tells you how the eventual results will pan out historically. Well, we're going to be speaking to the two sides on this very important poll. Who is winning? Depending on how you spin it, depending on what this tells you, how much work you can do in the next 1 year, we'll speak to the my guests in the studio when we return from this break as we begin to digest this from the point of view of the two reps from the two parties from Parliament. Stay with us. My guest in the studio tonight, Andy Ejapa-Mensah, a.k.a. Bobo, is my guest. He is MP for Sekondi. Roxing Nelson Dafiamekpo is MP for Sadai. He's been chewing the Afrobarometer survey since it started coming out. And I'm delighted to say that he joins me again on Afrobarometer, this time about the key question of who is likely to be winning. Roxanne, let me start with you. I mean, you read the details of the Afrobarometer, a lot of detail in there that will benefit any political party. But it doesn't really look good and promising for the National Democratic Congress, does it?
It's good evening, my brother. We've been doing battle since yesterday. And good evening to my constituents, take equally perfect and customary. Yet it may look on the surface to not favor the NDC, but the devil is in the details. And the analysis and the results that we see rather favors the NDC. And
yes?
Yes.
In what way?
And I'll demonstrate why. And I've told him this morning that if you take, aside from, normally this is the last question in the questionnaire, aside from all the other indicators, they're in a decline. And if you are a government, that clearly touts the launch of not less than 4 flagship projects or programs, i.e. free SHS, one village, one dam, one district, one factory, planting for food and jobs, NAPCO, and for all your indicators from 2017 to be in a decline, it's a problem. And it tells a story. And the story is that you used to be at a certain pedestal, and you are on a downward trend. And you see, it's a momentum when they will not be able to recover from it in less than 12 months. Yes. What they think they can do with the budget they read, which they say that the 2020 will be a year of roads. They have identified certain key roads in all the 16 regions. And in fact, those roads and the extent of kilometers that I see on paper, these are not roads you can finish in a year. These are major roads. Even if half, if not all of them will be done with asphalt, even if half, the rest will be bitumen surfacing, chippings. But the rest, about over 1,000 kilometers in all, will be by asphalt. These are not things you can finish in a year. So the expectations of the people, he addressed the issues of expectations this morning on another platform, on your sister platform. But I see that the expectations, they won't recover from the decline in expectations from the people. And so if you box all those indices with who are you going to vote for, the expectations in respect of the indices that were used in respect of who are you going to vote for, they'll go down. Or will beat them. Yes. And let me give you the statistics. If you look at
those are preliminary comments. Let me get preliminary comments
very
well. As well.
So
I mean, Andy.
Good evening. I'm not used to evening TV, so I almost said good morning.
No
so India is a good morning.
No
I
problem.
said good morning, of course, to my very good friend Roxy Nelson and to your good self and our cherished viewers. It's interesting how my friends are struggling very hard to make the Afrobarometer a referendum of the Nana Akufo-Addo government, because obviously it's not. The objective is to measure certain indices, and as far as I'm concerned, very useful, provides a sense of guidance, gives you some, if you like, food for thought, some indices to reflect on and to strategize in your last year or at every point in time that the survey is done. And so for me, I wasn't surprised because if you look at the previous ones that was held, 2017, and you relate that to 2019, clearly in the euphoria of the Nana Addo electoral success, a lot of people were full of hope, full of expectation that things were going to be different. Some expectations have been met, some may not have been met. And so if a survey is conducted 2 years thereafter, it clearly will reflect the sentiment of people across board. But if you look at the data quite closely, I don't think that the MPP has done badly, and that if we're able to explain ourselves better, if we communicate better, if we let the Ghanaian understand what it is that our plan, our big vision for Ghana was and still is, and what it is that has made us achieve the level of attainment of those big vision, I think that the Ghanaians will give us another opportunity to continue.
So you think your problem is communication?
Absolutely, it's partly communication. Because, Evans, this is a government that did not, under any circumstances, anticipate or was in a position to know the level of rot in our financial sector. Huge sums of money that could have gone into providing certain social services and some of our major flagship programs have had to be used to clean up the sector. You and I didn't know. It couldn't have informed our manifesto in any way. Of course, I interact with a lot of my constituents. People feel that, look, some of the corruption allegations, indeed, the evidence that abound in the run-up to 2016 elections, even though significant numbers of people are being held accountable in our courts, people think it's not far-reaching, and they would want to see more prosecution.
But what has that got to do with your dwindling fortune?
I'm coming. So I'm saying that those were all expectations that people had. Of course, if you ask unemployed graduates, I'm sure that they will say that, well, we are satisfied because our expectations of the Akufo-Addo administration has largely been met. I expect that when our one district, one factory program is rolled out comprehensively and it gets to the nook and cranny of this country, much more of our unemployment issues will be resolved. Okay, if you ask our nurses and teacher trainees, their expectations would have been met. Some people's expectation obviously has not been met because the government clearly hasn't been able to deliver on all the promises that it made to the people of Ghana. That's a matter of fact. But I'm saying that beyond that, significant progress has been made. Huge achievements have been chalked by this government. That doesn't seem to...
The numbers say that you are in the red.
We are not in the red.
But it's 15 percentage point drop.
Not a
from
problem.
2017 to 2019. That must be alarming.
You see, look at the trend analysis from the document itself.
Yeah.
I believe figure 4
tells
you clearly that in 2005, many Ghanaians indicated they were going to vote the MPP as opposed to the NDC. In fact, year on year. But within that period, the NDC has won an election. Correct?
Yeah.
And have lost elections too. So I'm saying that this is a guide, but it's not conclusive of the outcome of the 2020 election. And so there's every opportunity available to us to go out there and market ourselves properly, explain the challenges that we've had to deal with properly, the economic achievement that we've chalked, and all that. And I'm confident, without a doubt, that His Excellency Nana Addo Akufo-Addo will win the election 2020.
Roxy, it makes a good point that if you look, you wanted to go to the numbers, so let's stay there. If you look at the numbers and do the historical trend from 2005 to today, if you draw the line, NPP is constantly above you, although it goes in zigzag. But in that space, you've won 2 elections. So this isn't, I mean, that tells you how much value you can put on this, I guess.
And indeed, it is that point that defeats his logic. And for him to say that they have done well with this data and therefore to win the elections, the historical trend shows that no. The fact that NDC is holding on to its grounds, all right? Now, from the data, 19% of the respondents have stated that they will not answer to the question.
Yeah.
Why? If indeed they were NPP people who were really willing to cast their vote for the NPP, they would have said so expressly.
Same if they were NDC.
No. So I suspect that these are NPP people who have become dejected.
Why, Jesus?
That is my analysis.
No, but given the reason.
No, given the analysis that the trend analysis that he's done.
If the number of points that the NPP has lost is 15%,
no, hold on.
and the people who refuse to vote are 19%.
Hold on.
It cannot be said that all of those people constitute.
You are stealing my time. You are stealing my time. I was very quiet when you spoke. Evans, if you take the respondents' view on the direction of the economy, 85% in 2017 were of the opinion that the economy was in the right direction. In 2019, it is now 59%.
A decline.
A decline. If you take the issue of managing the economy well, they asked whether the government was managing the economy well. In 2017, it was 71%. Now it is 51%. That's also a decline in perception. If you take the issue of corruption, in 2017, only 39% of the respondents said that there's some level of corruption in the government. In 2019, it is 53%. That's an appreciation. That's a positive appreciation of the people who think that you have become corrupt or corruption has increased in your government. And that's a negative to them. If you take the issue of corruption within the presidency itself, again, about 83% of the people, that the president and his officials, government is very large, public service is inclusive, but this one, the presidency, 83%. If you take fight against corruption, 67% were of the opinion that government was fighting corruption in 2017. In 2019, it is 40%. There's a decline in the perception level that you are fighting corruption. Now, if you take fighting crime, security issues, in 2017, it was 66% of the respondents who thought that the government was fighting corruption. In 2019, it is 43%. Again, the people are showing that you are losing grip of governance. That's what it says. All the indices. Now, if you take addressing issue of the youth, in 2017, 62% of the people, of the respondents thought that they were responsive to issues of the youth. They were addressing issues of the youth, graduate unemployment and all that. So, after launching NAPCO, after all these programs, there's a decline. Only 47% of the people in the 2019 study that say that the government is responding to needs of the youth. Now, when you take the issue of job creation specifically, responsiveness, 41% were of the opinion in 2017 that the government was responding to job creation. After creation of NAPCO, it is now 29% in 2019. So this indicators clearly tells you that the NPP has declined in all the respects that were tested. Now let's go to trust in the president. This is where they have been touting. Now 2017 was 73%. In 2019, it is 58%. And curiously, you recall the question I asked here. Out of that if you analyze the 58%, only 33% said exactly, said cogently that they trust the president. 25% were of the opinion that somewhat they trust him somewhat, but they lumped that together. So again, the president declined there. If you look at free SHS, their most touted flagship policy, the opinion of the people even differ there. Now let's come to who will you vote for. We have held on to our grounds. You have declined from 48% to what, 33?
But they still lead.
Hold on. And analyze the people that are giving you problems in respect of that. 12% says they don't know who they are going to vote for. 19% refuses to answer.
You say those people are MPP.
Why? They are MPP.
And
they are rejected. So they are going to. They don't want to tell you that they'll vote for the NDC.
But they don't want to tell you.
Or even if they are not.
Yes, the NDC.
Let's assume that they are not even. They are apolitical. Maybe they find favor with the NPP, so they voted for them. But now they haven't, so they don't want to.
But that's that argument applies to both parties for those people.
What I'm saying, that we, instead of addressing as the NDC, they say we are in opposition. So we are in opposition. If I'm in opposition, and 19% of the people cannot say that they will vote for the government in power to continue, is in yours to my favor. That's the point I'm making. It means that's a segment of the people that I can reach out to, because the government has disappointed them. They haven't found favor with government. So they say they don't know, or they won't disclose whether they'll vote for government or not. Now, 11% is saying they won't vote. why wouldn't they vote? Perhaps they casted their votes in the last
This
election.
is also apathetic.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
what killed you in 2016.
Exactly. And they are suffering from the same malady. They are suffering from the same malady. But the rate at which they are suffering from this malady is alarming. That is why I'm saying that they cannot. Now we have less than 12 months to go to the polls.
Yeah.
They cannot
Time
recover,
is running out.
and they are gone.
But he raises a very important point. That if you look at the other indices where people hit people's pockets.
You see, Evans, it's interesting why or how our friends, like I said earlier, want to try and make the Afrobarometer a referendum on His Excellency Adodankwa government. Because clearly, if you look at this table, in fact, all the indices that he's outlined, if you compare it with the period with which that the NDC was in government, Evans, you've seen the data. They are worse. So I'm saying that, look, this is a useful guide, and I do not discount scientific work, not at all. But it can never be conclusive of what the 2020 election outcome would be. Look, if you look in 2014, institutional corruption, this is the chart. The MPP's worst performance of 33% is better, way better than the NDC's 53. But of course, that's not the kind of record.
That is why they lost elections historically.
Not a problem
Historical
at all.
margins.
Not a problem. So I'm saying that this is some study. In any event, these are perception.
Yeah, I agree.
Really, that they are measuring. It's not something that we can all point to and say these are
In
actual.
politics, perception
No,
and reality.
I agree. That's why I have given it the kind of value that it rightfully deserves. And I've heard major leaders of our party, including our National Communications Director, indicating that, look, we take this data seriously. Unlike when our friends were in government and they bastardized the Afrobarometer report. Indeed, it's surprising that today, Afrobarometer has become the standard measure for our friends, the NDC. But it's good. At least it shows we're making progress.
Your party boycotted the promulgation of the 1992 Constitution.
That's not true. The MPP did not exist prior to 1992.
Please.
So it cannot be the case that the party that was not in existence boycotted the formulation of the 1992
formed in
Constitution.
92?
No. MPP was formed in 1993 because in 1992 political parties were banned.
Elections were held in 92.
So who wrote the stolen verdict?
Inauguration.
The stolen verdict was the post political party, but of course it was post the
but people
of
were
the
selected. Key MPP persons were selected. They refused to participate. That's the point I'm making.
What's your point?
The point is that, you see, you may criticize the process. It doesn't mean that you cannot use the process to critically assess issues. You criticize facts.
The 1992. No, these are matters of fact, and let's
return to Afrobarometer.
No, it's important.
Yes.
The 1992 Constitution came into effect in April of 1992.
Yes.
The process for promulgating that Constitution preceded 1992. MPP as a political party did not exist prior to that time.
So how did you participate in the elections leading to inauguration of the Fourth Republic in January 93?
Post 1992.
It is the Constitution. It is the Constitution.
The Constitution
it is the
was
effect
approved
of your Constitution.
before political parties
Fantastic
were
historical
allowed.
lesson.
No, but
It is a matter of record. I'm not twisting the facts. It is a matter of record.
Okay.
That
so
initially
don't get sidetracked.
That we criticize Afro. In fact, even this one we did, because you see, they gauge perception or trust levels in the MPP, and I'm criticizing Afrobarometer. Why wouldn't you single out NDC and also gauge the perception of levels of trust within the NDC? But you will lump us together with about 16 other political parties and gauge trust level. Is that fair?
Okay, but we'll make your substantive point now.
You see, Evans, the point and the fact still remains. And it's important because many people may not be privy to this information and may be carried away. Okay, the processes leading up to the promulgation of the 1992 Constitution started with a committee of experts.
Exactly.
Okay, that was before 1992. No political party.
It started with the consultative assembly. They constituted the committee of
The
experts.
committee experts did their work before it went to the consultative assembly.
No.
That exactly is what happened.
No.
Okay, so it was the consultative assembly that approved
Yes.
the text
Yes.
as presented by the experts.
The committee of experts.
And then, no. And then, post that, it was subject to a referendum in April, where we all went to vote.
Did your key personnel participate?
I voted in the referendum. I was past 18 then. Yeah. Okay, so, but that's beside the point. So I'm saying that if you look at all the indices from when the Afrobarometer started engaging in this useful exercise, that clearly is shaping the political discourse. Because today we are debating statistics, figures, facts and figures. Okay, that clearly enriches our political debate as opposed to the usual bantering that we are wont to do. And I'm saying that yes, there's a decline. Nobody can dispute the statistical fact relative to 2017 and 2019. And I've said that as a party, this is something that we are evaluating and putting in place appropriate strategy to ensure that we deal with it. And I'm saying that to the extent that we are not communicating enough, we are not telling the Ghanaians the kinds of things that we are doing with respect to all the sectors across the country. It is possible to have responses like this. But if the history of the Afrobarometer is anything to go by, clearly, I'm convinced that the MPP stands the chance of retaining power in 2020. In any event, you see, Evans, it's interesting, and before we came on set, I was telling my very good friend Roxy Nelson that the percentage of people who are increasingly losing faith in the electoral process should be a source of worry, not only to the MPP, but to both political parties.
And just one of the other indices measured by the Afrobarometer, the trust in opposition political parties was very low.
Yes.
It just generally tells you a sense that
absolutely
people don't
that
trust.
People don't trust politicians, and what accounts for that should engage our minds. Because I am confident that I'm a trustworthy person. I haven't done any act that would lead anybody to conclude that Mesa is not trustworthy. But we are all put in the same bracket.
Guilty by association with the group.
Because of the kinds of things that we say amongst ourselves. The kinds of unfounded allegations that we make against ourselves purely for political power. And so these kinds of exercises should let us re-engage and redefine the parameters within which we do our politics, devoid of insults, devoid of baseless allegations, and deal with the issues.
Okay, so
it's important.
So one of the issues I think, and you mentioned, I'll come to Roxy, the apathy question, right? Afrobarometer is 11%. Those who will not vote. Historically, they say it's the highest they've had.
Yes.
For an incumbent party, that must give you cause for worry, sleepless nights. Because anytime that number goes up, apathy, it's trouble, it spells trouble for the incumbent. And it makes the point. It shows that people simply, and you see the MPP, NDC's vote, NDC's response figures they got. Although you've lost 15 percentage points, it's not like NDC is gaining. They're staying the same.
Because the Ghanaians don't trust them. They are not a credible alternative.
That is one way to spin it.
But that's exactly what the figures speak to.
Well, but another way to look at it is that the people who would normally vote for you don't longer trust you, and they won't vote for NDC either, but don't vote at all.
Well, I don't think that the trust level relative to MPP indicates that. Okay, and you can look at the figures, whether indeed a Ghanaian say they don't trust the president and his appointees. But of course, they said they don't trust the NDC, categorical.
They don't trust opposition political parties.
I'm saying, but of course, that's the biggest opposition party.
That's his point to you, actually.
The rest,
like you lump them together.
The rest of all the political parties put together don't even add up to 3%. Okay, so if Ghanaians don't trust the opposition parties, it can only be the NDC and nobody else. Okay, but I'm saying that, look, it's interesting. If you look in the shade of pink, people who refuse to answer. Yeah. In 2008, it was 12%. 2012, 16. 2014-19, 2017-13, and it's got back to 19.
Yeah.
Okay? If you look in the people who say they don't know, 10 to 7 in 2012, 3% in 2014, because obviously the economy was difficult. In 2017, even though there was a lot of confidence in the Akufo-Addo government, people were hopeful and were clearly happy with the performance of the government. The euphoria post the election. It was still 9%. Now it's gone to 12. So I'm saying that these figures themselves cannot be conclusive of what it is that people would do in the actual election.
But as an indicator, though.
Of course, it helps. It helps as a guide, and that's why I'm not discounting it. I'm giving it all the requisite attention that it deserves. But I'm looking at these figures, and I'm saying that what is it that the MPP can do? Having regard to the fact that Ghanaians trust us, Ghanaians expect more from us, Ghanaians know our ability to manage this economy better. In fact, in all the indication or indices that Nelson Roxon recited earlier, NPP under Nana Akufo-Addo does better than the alternative that they're proffering, Mr. Mahama, who they are asking Ghanaians to go back to. And I'm saying that if you look at the comparatives, clearly there is a selling point for us as a party that when we go out there and explain to people what it is that absolutely, I do not have any doubt at all. Okay? Political communication is critical. People ought to appreciate what it is that governments are doing. People ought to appreciate the difficulty that government is going through and what it is that is hindering the kinds of expectations that they had not being met. And I am saying that within the past 3 years, what I've seen, because privileged member of parliament, okay, I get the benefit of sitting in some kinds of conversations and the kinds of things that you see. There's no comparison. We are even not comparing ourselves to the NDC anymore. We are comparing our peers within the sub-region and globally.
Yeah, but
okay, because our performance on all fronts, and the Vice President has categorically stated it without any contradiction, that we have done extremely better than the NDC. Okay, and so we ought to let the Ghanaian know exactly what it is that we've done and our plans in consolidating the gains that we've made over the past 2 years. If the IMF didn't think we were performing better, they would still be hanging around. All these international rating agencies giving us high marks, such that now we are refinancing some of the expensive debt that we picked under the Eurobond during the era of the NDC at 10.75 to 7.3, 7.4 today. Clearly.
I mean, Roxanne, if you look at the 12%, for example, of those who say they are undecided, these are a huge chunk.
First of all, let me rebut a few points that he made. They keep regurgitating this point that they had evidence of corruption under President Mahama. They've been in power for almost 3 years. They should tell us. We just received the estimates or the report, the performance report of the Office of the Special Prosecutor today. He's been able to handle only 2 cases the whole year. Office of the Special Prosecutor.
But that's not their fault.
No. Whose fault?
The Office of Special Prosecutor is an independent organization.
They claim they established it to fight corruption, and they claim they had evidence. The other cases that they claim they are prosecuting.
The president talked about the 700 million cases.
Sorry?
700 million cedis worth of cases. The cases that they are prosecuting.
He has evaluated the cases.
Yeah. At the bar conference.
Hold on. Those are some of the propaganda I speak of. They can't even prosecute. And yet they keep saying that
there's no prosecutions going on at the backlock.
Can you prosecute?
But
they are prosecuting.
How many cases are you prosecuting?
This is 21.
21. Yes.
21 cases.
It's not true. I have seen the report.
What's the alternative?
I have seen the report. It is not by what they say.
I thought you said it's only the special prosecutor's report that you are.
Two cases.
How about
tomorrow? Hold on. Tomorrow we are going to analyze them.
I'll come for the meeting.
Those 2 cases. 2. So if they sit here and say you were corrupt, and you have the opportunity, prosecute us. Because it was propaganda. And let me tell you, he says.
So you are saying JIDA never happened?
Why? JIDA.
SADA didn't happen?
JIDA.
No, it didn't
What is
happen.
the issue? You raised the issue
No, I'm
about
asking, it
Jida.
didn't
So tell
happen.
me, you are in power. Tell me what happened under Jida. Because you made a mountain out of that matter. So that is the point I'm making. So stop this corruption and
So Saturday didn't
the
happen.
corruption under your government is stinking. It's sky high. They said what?
What are the facts?
They
That-
said
that's-
what?
do the facts
hold on.
support
They
that
said they
though?
came
Where are
to
the
meet.
facts?
They came to meet.
Where's the
with
evidence?
Financial crisis. You claim you have spent 15 billion to clean up financial sector. How did they expend that money? They should tell me. They were paying legal fees to who? What is the nature of the cleanup? They've just brought a motion to Parliament asking to borrow 15.6 billion. Is there an additional money, or it is the 15 that you claim that you have expended? These are matters we interrogate. So they are hiding under this financial crisis cleanup, and they are guzzling money. And we'll look into that matter. So, Ejapa, people have their views about these issues. So don't sit here and speak about them simplistically. Now, he makes the point that, no, you made the point.
About the regions.
About the regions. It is not correct. We are winning 8 regions. 8. And let me tell you, if you take Northeast, they have 33%, we have 49%. If we take Ahafo, they have 30%, we have 33%. If we take Savannah, they have 29, we have 51. If we take Northeast, they have 25, we have 38. If we take Upper West, they have 19, we have 50. If we take OT, they have 19, we have 47. If we take Upper East, they have 14, we have 31. If we take Volta, they have 9, we have
you
40.
win Volta.
Yes.
You win Upper East.
Yes.
You win OT.
Yes.
You win Upper West. So
Yes.
that's 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
You win
Bono
Bono
East.
East.
Yes.
That's 5.
Yes.
You win
Savannah.
Savannah. That's 6.
6. We win Ahafo.
You win Ahafo. That's 7.
Yes. And we
You
win
win Northeast.
That is 8.
That is 8.
So we are sharing.
So
16
that's
regions.
But I made the point also. They are winning the swing regions.
Why?
Central.
Hold on.
Central.
You see,
and Greater Accra. Nobody has ever won the presidential race without winning those.
He
two
just said it's a guide.
regions. So now you're also for you to say, guy.
This battle is going to be stiffly fought. All right? The statistics show that, look, we are split in the middle.
No, but you're split in the middle. But the regions in which you are winning are the regions that
who
are.
says who will win Greater Accra? Who will equip them in Greater Accra?
The Afrobarometer
Who will
survey that you're
equip them in
discussing
Greater
says it.
Accra?
But you're not. Here it says you're not. The you're talking about Afrobarometer.
By
now?
what
Document that
percentage point?
you have.
Say again.
By what percentage?
I mean, you're just using the same Afrobarometer
Exactly.
to make the point.
So
that you've won, you're winning
so-
8 regions, and I just point out to you that the regions you're winning
So why don't you
are
end
not the
argument there?
regions
No,
that
why-
you need to win the
why
national
don't-
elections.
Who told you? Why would you discount my winning one region in favor of another?
No, I'm talking about historically.
Why would you say?
Historically, you can win all these regions.
Evans, why would you say
and
that?
not win
Why would you
elections?
say that he will win 8 regions and win the elections, and that I will win 8 regions and not win the elections?
Because history tells us if you win Central and a Greater Accra, you should win the election.
History is not always repeated. New histories can be
But
set.
this is history that has never fallen
Who
out
told
of place since 1992.
exactly.
And
but
for
it
his
will fall this
information,
time.
those regions have not been reorganized.
Why?
It's still
Which
the way it
regions?
is.
It's still the way it is.
We are equipping you in Greater Accra.
But
That
Oh,
for,
but
as for that
the-
fact, I'll tell you.
the Afrobarometer
Exactly.
that you say
It's
we
a-
should
it's a
elevate
guide.
to, you say we should elevate to biblical proportions.
Oh no, you are saying it's a
saying-
guide. You are saying it's a guide.
No, he's maintained it's a guide.
Yes.
According to
But you have.
Afrometer,
No,
you say we should elevate
he
it
has chosen to
to
describe
the
it
level of the scriptures
so. And I'm telling you,
and rely on it copiously
Ejapa,
as the basis for the
Ejapa,
outcome of the
Ejapa,
election in 2020.
By his opening comments, by his opening remarks, he created the impression that you were winning most regions.
9 against 6.
Yes.
So
But
it's
it is
8-8.
8-8.
But I just pointed the second level of
Leave
analysis.
This is the historical antecedents.
But it's you discounting
I'm
the
not
historical.
I'm not discounting. I'm not discounting.
That we have
I'm
swing
telling you,
regions.
I'm telling you, we have 16 regions. They are winning 8. We are winning 8. That's all. That's
Let me hear
By
it and go for a break.
Now,
Briefly, I want to take a break and come
no,
to
he
come back to it.
had so much time. Just use this time to rebut a
Because
few
you
points.
can give him the rest of the time.
To
I don't
rebut-
have a problem.
Give me 2 minutes and let's take a break and return.
So the point is that if a government suffers a decline in respect of every indicator, it's a worry. And he argues to water it down. If I were them, I would be worried. He tries to link that to their inability to communicate.
54% of Ghanaians think that we are running this country properly.
From where?
From the data.
No, from which percentage point 2 years ago?
It doesn't matter.
That is what you are
54%.
No, that is what you are not addressing. And that is why I said that's a momentum.
That is our worst, and it's better than your best.
That is a momentum.
Your predictions will drop further.
They will drop further. They will drop further. They will drop further into the doldrums. And that's my point.
So he says the momentum is on your side.
On their side.
Yeah, because you've been dropping from 2017.
Evans, I don't think that the momentum is on the side of the NDC at all. On the contrary. I mean, Ghanaians have spoken, by and large, through the Afrobarometer. And to the extent that some 42% okay, of Ghanaians have taken a position that, look, until we see something significantly change in 2020, and particularly in the area of infrastructure, education, health, we're not likely to vote in the election. And you saw the budget. His Excellency the President has declared 2020 year of roads. I've seen the budget.
You took Volta region out. You took me out.
Volta region was not taken out.
You took me out.
No, it was just that table that omitted Volta region.
It wasn't just.
But in the write-up.
It wasn't just.
In the write-up, in
Which
the
write-up?
in the text of the budget,
Yes.
the Volta region roads were captured.
Which have always been captured for the
absolutely.
past.
Absolutely. And so, but of course.
No, but these are priority projects.
No,
Yes,
it's okay.
but-
I mean, that debate was hard. It was eventually rectified.
So budget had to be amended. In fact, so we have
It
a
had to be
revised standard
rectified.
version.
Well, you can, you
Ojapa.
know, of course, I was not in the
You were not around.
six parliaments,
Yes.
but budget revisions are clearly not new, and it wasn't surprising to me, because if you see the pressure under which
It was
the
written.
officials of the Ministry of Finance, okay, go under in the preparation of the budget, it's not.
But your
usual.
substantive
It's
point is
about-
that
they've always been making errors in the budget.
these things can change the minds of the people who are so
Absolutely.
undecided.
Absolutely.
I thought I thought
Absolutely.
you said that we don't eat roads,
Well,
we don't eat infrastructure.
I'm gonna-
Mr. Mahama said it.
I'm
in
gonna-
2007.
you said so.
I was re-echoing Mr. Mahama's
I'm gonna take a
own
break. When I
comments
return,
to the people of Ghana, that
How are the two parties
You said-
positioning
you said that
themselves
we don't eat
to
roads,
gain
we don't eat
from
roads.
those who
Mahama said
haven't
it, you don't eat roads.
made up their minds?
Now we are eating
Stay with
roads.
us.
Mr. Mahama said it.
So we're still live on PM Express. I mean, as we've been talking about, brief comment for them on what the parties plan really to do. To, of course, the Afrobarometer survey is already out. Ajapa Mensah had made a point that as far as the incumbent party is concerned, communication is a key. Roxy, I haven't heard from you though on there is still a lot of work to be done based on the Afrobarometer survey results.
Yes.
Ajapa Mensah had clearly stated for them, communicate more and do the projects and hope that you can switch the undecided. For the NDC, you seem to okay with this.
No.
As if this is
No,
this is the
No, it's not as if we are okay.
Okay.
But we are accepting the fact that the performance of the government is in a decline. However, in respect of the NDC, we also know we have a lot of work to do, because you see, we have been bastardized in so much that it's opportunity for us to rehabilitate the image that
But you have a year.
Yes, we have a year.
You've been in a position for 3 years. You should have rehabilitated the parties.
No, we have. And we've done that very creditably. You understand? That's why the people who have trust in us still hold fast onto that trust. It's up to us to now win new souls, and those new souls will come from people who were with them.
But both the Afrobarometer and the Political Science Department surveys, year on year, 2018, 2019, say you're not winning new souls.
You see, because the other clear issue is when the analysis come on like this, they become NDC versus NPP debate, and yet they are unable to do a direct review or a direct study between the two parties, leaving all else out. That between let us conduct a study about the chances of these two major political parties. They don't do it like that. They lump us together. He himself said, if you say opposition, we mean NDC. So we need to come out of that mode and be able to refashion ourselves. Indeed, we are working on our manifesto. So a lot of people too are waiting to see what kind of manifesto
before they make a decision.
Exactly.
That will apply to NDC.
And yes, and
well.
no,
they're working on a lot of things.
They are already in government.
They are working on the running mate.
Oh,
what
please.
else are you working on?
Have you chosen your candidate? Have you chosen your candidate?
Of course, we have chosen our
You
candidate.
haven't chosen your candidate. We have not even.
We have an incumbent president.
We have an incumbent president who has indicated that
is
he
your
is contesting in 2020.
Is the president your candidate? That is a
I can
declaration
say
of
without any
intention.
fear of
You have not even
contradiction that the
elected your
president
MPs.
is our candidate.
And you are worrying us.
Yeah,
You are saying that you are waiting for the
Andy,
NDC running.
we have a message.
You
We
don't
have
have a candidate. We have a message.
What is it?
You have a candidate.
We have a few.
Elect your candidate.
We have a few minutes to wrap up. Let me take brief comments from you. The previous Afrobarometer survey on who is corrupt said parliamentarians are the third most corrupt, only better than police. Goodness, judges and magistrates. This must feel a bit dread.
It's unfortunate because a greater majority of members of parliament don't control any budget, except when you are.
So where's that perception?
I don't know. Except when you are a minister of state who is responsible for a certain sector.
When you were a citizen without in parliament, didn't you have the same perception of the MPs?
No.
You didn't?
No.
Oh, really?
Because I knew.
Both of you have been there close to one term now.
Yes.
Didn't you have before 2016? Didn't you have the same perception?
No. I'm not sure if I had that perception. I would have.
Okay.
You know, and of course, I didn't pay too much attention to these kinds of research findings.
Does it hurt you that this is the perception out there? Because you walk in street, everybody, MPs are corrupt.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but
MPs and politicians.
We just have to do what we have to do and try and get it out for people to really know what MPs do. Of course, I mean, what's corruption? Is it that MPs take some monies or they give some monies for some benefit or for some reward? And like I said, what you earn as a member of parliament is your salary, and maybe some allowances.
So, but you are very concerned about this.
Yet,
it's not changing anytime soon.
Even you.
Yeah.
This confirms a certain perception you hold, and so even though we are acquaintances, you see us in a certain light.
It's not my fault.
Yes, I agree, because it's fed by
society.
Things like,
yeah.
And ask him. Sometimes you get to a place and people make all sorts of remarks. I asked him, on what basis did you gauge this perception?
Yes.
All right, and that is why I think it was reported earlier this week that I said, by the sheer nature of our work, we have very little opportunity to get corrupt. Look, we only see volumes of. Look, government dumps its business on us to approve so it can continue with its work. And we're always in a hurry to scrutinize and give an okay to government. How? So does it mean government brings us money to do this? We are paid to do this. People. That's why I said. People think he and I, we get free petrol. We buy our own diesel. They think we have free lunch. We buy our own food. Even the tea we drink, this Lipton, we buy every morning. You know, we don't get anything. The vehicle we drive, we've been given a loan to buy it, and the loan is deducted from our salary, our official vehicle. So I think that the Corporate Affairs Department of Parliament need to
rebrand it.
Exactly. It's very important because
you see,
very briefly, because 30 seconds, because we've already run out of time.
Perception, yes, by all means, let's measure it. But I don't think it's sufficient a measure to, as it were, determine people's behavior.
Run the whole institution.
Okay, and so I think that the Afrobarometer, CDD, and their partners should go beyond this. And yes, it's difficult to measure actual, you know, some of these indices to get the actual take of what actually pertains on the ground. But if they're able to develop something like that, I think it will go a long way
to reduce.
to,
I mean,
as it were,
you know the common
mandate.
fund, you know the common fund that we have. They claim that we have common fund. You know, if he says that we should buy this cap for Evans, if his DC says no, that's the end of it.
I see.
He has
I mean,
no access to it.
but that's up for PMS. But I need to make the point though.
Yeah.
If you look at who is corrupt, media persons are the least.
about your
Media persons are the least corrupt. In fact, we are at the bottom of this table, and so I mean, trust us, we do a good job. I mean,
But I used to be a media man.
Oh, you do?
Yes,
Oh,
I
come
used
back.
to work
You
with
want to
Ghanaian
feel-
Chronicle
Come back.
when I left university.
come
of
back,
Ghana.
come back and join us, and go to the bottom of this. My name is Evans, and enjoy the rest of your evening.